It's good to be with you guys. Thanks for sticking around. Before we get going, just want to acknowledge all the hard work of our players, our coaching staff, our entire football ops staff, personnel, everybody for all their hard work for training camp and preseason, and especially the players. You know, the effort, the strain, the production, the hard work, everything that they've done in this preseason led to a lot of difficult choices, difficult conversations, difficult decisions as we put this 53 together. So I just want to thank them. But that's all I have. I'll just take questions from here.
Joe, could you walk us through your thought process on Denzel from last week when the trade request was made public and through now?
Yeah. So Ron and I have a good relationship. Denzel's agent. Kind of got a heads up that was coming. Fielded some calls. Ultimately, nothing materialized. Especially anything that we would consider the right value for a player of Denzel's talent and ability. And I think all you guys saw that on Sunday against the Giants. So ultimately, nothing materialized on that front with any trades.
How do you balance that? Because obviously the player wants to be somewhere else, and you value him, but yet he's not playing, and he's an unhappy player. So how do you, as an administrator and executive, balance that with an unhappy player?
Yeah, Rich, I wouldn't say he wants to be somewhere else. He wants to play. He wants to start. Denzel's very confident. I think he's voiced that he feels that he should be a starter, and ultimately. We want a team full of guys that feel like they should be the number one guy. Denzel loves the Jets. Denzel's a great person, high-level competitor, and I think it wasn't him wanting to be somewhere else, just him wanting to play more.
But if he wants to play more, and you guys have some of the guys ahead of him that are going to play in front of him, and barring injury, I mean, does it make sense? Are you basically keeping him as insurance in case somebody goes down? I mean, why he doesn't want to be here is one thing, but the fact is he doesn't because he wants to play.
Yeah, he does want to play, but at the same time, we have to do what's best for the New York Jets, and so Denzel, obviously, we again reference the Giants. We saw what he can do when he's out on the field. So we have to do what's right by the player and what's right for the team, and so keeping Denzel, we have a great room. I know Coach has talked about a lot. We have a very cool room of wide receivers, and Denzel's a big part of that.
Do you have any type of update on Zach?
No new news to report. He's doing well. I see him walking around the building, and he's doing great with his rehab.
When he gets back, what kind of leap do you expect him to make? You often see that year one to year two jump. With him, how much do you expect to see?
Yeah, well, I think we talked about just him coming back at the end of last year, the jump he made. He was having that same level of progression throughout OTAs, throughout training camp. I know you guys were here. I'm sure he would like to have that first series back in the Philly game, but he was getting back into rhythm and showing all those traits and the progression that he had made in that second series before the injury. We've seen tremendous progress from Zach.
Joe, where do you feel like you are in terms of the team building process, right? I mean, when you were here last year, you were pretty honest about how young you were and needing to see that growth. Where do you feel like you are a year later in that process?
I think we have a pretty intriguing group of youth and veteran presence. Adding guys like CJ and Conk and Whitehead, and bringing a guy like Dwayne Brown in here to go along with all these first, second, third year players. It's a pretty cool group of youth and experience, and to watch them compete and gel and build the chemistry and camaraderie, it's really cool to see every day. Just in terms of the team building, look, we've tried to use every avenue that we could to improve this team: draft, claims, trades, free agency, and obviously it's led to much tougher cut-down decisions and conversations than in years past.
So at what point, Joe, do you guys have to win them? At what point is it not about necessarily building? It's like okay, now, we like the progress we've seen, we like the players, but we have to win football
Yeah,
games now.
yeah. You know, I'd go back to what I talked to you guys about in Florida. You know, the goal is to be playing meaningful games here down the stretch, and I feel like the energy that we've had since coming together in OTAs, how that's progressed through OTAs, training camp. You see the progress, but you're right. We have to go out and prove it on Sundays.
Joe and Rex, what are the telltale signs of a winning culture?
Well, I'd say it starts at the top. You know, and I think you know, when you have a head coach that brings the energy, the juice, the genuine love of the game that Coach Sala brings, his communication abilities, and then with his staff of teachers, high energy teachers, and then it just goes from there. And then you're bringing in the right types of people. I feel like our personnel staff has done a great job pinpointing the right types of competitor, right type of football character to bring in here, and mix with our coaching staff based on the criteria that we have in terms of what we're looking for in a Jet. So after that, you know, you try to get as many good people in the building as you can, and good things are going to start to happen. And I feel like we're progressing there.
Have you seen an evolution in the culture from a year ago, Rex?
Yeah, I think it starts with the alignment of the vision and the culture that both Joe and Robert have, and the type of profiles that they want on Robert's coaching staff, and what Joe wants in our player personnel staff, the type of people we want, the great teammates that we want to have within those two groups. And then it spills over into the locker room and identifying the profiles of what we want for guys with the makeup, with the culture, how they're going to add to the culture with their character and their on-field talent as well.
Joe, with the roster and everything we're talking about here, do you expect to be playing meaningful games down the stretch this season?
Absolutely, I do. I feel like you just look at our training camp, our preseason games. I feel like we're in a good place in terms of the chemistry of the team. The locker room's in a great place, and now we just have to build confidence and put it all together on Sundays. And I think we've got the right group of guys to do that.
Joe, how critical is it when you talk about meaningful games down the stretch, but this team has not won a game in September since you've been here, but like before you, 2018. How critical is it for this team to just experience some success early?
Yeah, I think that's probably a large component of playing those meaningful games in December is starting fast and not digging yourself too much of a hole. And so, look, we know the challenge ahead in terms of this division, this conference, and I think we have a group that's ready to battle.
What has been your impression of Robert now that he does have a year under his belt, his first year as a coach? Have you noticed anything different about him like a year or two?
No, I love Robert's consistency, you know, and his consistent energy every day. You know, how well he communicates, how well we're able to bounce ideas off each other, the different perspective, the different thought process we have, and we come together, and I feel like both of us are able to really set our egos aside to do what's best for the team at the end of the day. And so just watching him, his consistency, his energy, his communication, he's been a joy to work with.
Joe, a quick one on just one last quick one on Denzel. With you guys not trading him, is he now going to be with this team throughout the course of the year, or is that the trade request still open? Where if a team, you're quoted, you know, you're always going to answer the phone, but are you guys actively still fielding calls, or is he now with you guys as you see it the rest?
Well, he was always going to be part of our 53, always. And so, look, I can't predict, you know, who's going to be here, you know, tomorrow, next week, but down 5 months down the road. But we'll see. You know, like I've said in the past, when the phone rings, I'm going to pick it up. But Denzel was always going to be a part of this 53.
Joe, can you give us an update on Mackay, just in terms of his surgery and what the time frame looks like in terms of moving?
Yeah. So Mackay, he had a very successful procedure with Dr. Elatrash out in L.A. Obviously he's going to miss the season. We're going to miss him, but the docs feel good about the procedure. Feel good about his long-term ability to play football, which is great news. So right now he's currently still in LA training with doctors rehab staff. He'll come back here eventually, be with the team, and we're going to be excited to get him back.
When did he have that?
It was, I want to say, a week and a half ago.
How do you measure success this year with a young group, and obviously the AFC is so much stronger than it has been?
You're right. The AFC is strong. The division is strong. And look, I think we saw progression throughout training camp. We saw progression throughout preseason games, and I think we're gonna know we're gonna see progression and this team develop throughout the season.
When last season ended, Joe, in Buffalo, one of the things Robert said to us right away, and I believe he said it to the team too, was the division. We gotta close the gap in the division. Do you feel like you've closed that gap this offseason?
Yeah, I feel like we're certainly a more talented team than we've ever been. Again, now we've had these OTAs, these preseason games, this training camp to really come together, build chemistry as a group. But you're right, we have to close the gap in the division. And again, that's part of playing meaningful games down the stretch is winning games in the division. And so that's goal number one of any team is to win their division.
Having the 7 players claimed, and I think Robert's 12 from the 90, right, if you count, and Yarrow and the other guys that were claimed, what does that tell you about your process right now?
Well, I think it's a cool thing that Robert always says when he's talking to the team, and again, I've referenced his team meetings, how great they are, but when he's showing clips and he's talking about mentality and mindset and what it's supposed to look like and the strain and the effort and look, your teammates see it, coaches see it, but also when you put it on tape, 31 other teams are seeing it too. And if you do things the right way, you take care of your body, you listen to the coaching staff, you listen to our performance staff, our training staff, it's going to show, and other teams are going to take notice. And obviously, other teams did take notice, so it's a real credit to our coaching staff. It's a credit to these players.
What are those conversations like with you guys and like Robert and the coaching staff, and when you're trying to figure out who to keep and not expose to waivers, that kind of thing? Like, what's that whole process like for you guys? Is it like the draft?
It's look, there's a lot of candor, a lot of great discussions. I feel like we have our personnel meeting with the coaching staff, and obviously they have their opinions, their rankings. We get together as a group. We talk through. It is a little bit like draft meetings sometimes, and you're right. There is a little bit of you're playing the claim game. Okay, who might sneak through, who might not, and so there is a little strategy involved at the end of the day. But I think the constant is the candor and the communication amongst the personnel staff and the coaching staff.
Rex, one of the guys that was when we talked to Ron a little bit ago, he had said that the Lawrence Cager wide receiver to tight end conversion was your brainchild. So for you to kind of bring that one to light and have it play out in the way that he's got a 53-man roster spot, what was that like for you? And just kind of revisit why you thought that was a good decision.
Yeah, I think that was more of a collaboration throughout our whole player personnel department, just based off Cager's body type and his frame and how during his time here he had gotten bigger. We also had gotten him a little bit smaller in terms of player performance, where he's going to fit, where his body was at his best, and we saw him continue to grow. And with this frame, we knew the receiving value was going to be there, and the speed would stay consistent with his body type, and he was willing to make the change and accepted the challenge, and really proud of what he's done, and not only how Ron Middleton and the rest of the offensive staff have developed him and taken time and been patient with him in terms of the blocking. And he's really ascended, and hope he continues to grow.
Can either of you guys recall like a transition like taking a receiver and turning it into a tight end, like maybe you cross paths with a situation like that in the past that really worked out?
When I was in Chicago, we had a guy, Fontel Mines, who was a big receiver out of Virginia, and we converted him to F tight end. It's very similar body types and speed and receiving value. And Fontel Had a decent career, probably 3 or 4 years. Bounced around a little bit on practice squad and was active for us. But he would be the only guy that comes to mind from that I've experienced.
Joe, you've had some success at this time with claiming players, Braxton, JFM, Quincy. What was it that you guys didn't pick on anyone else today?
Yeah, we had some discussions. There were a few candidates, but ultimately, we chose to stay with the group we have. We feel good about everyone that we have on the 53 right now.
And if I could ask about one position, safety, I
Yeah.
think that was an interesting decision beyond the top two. Just take us through that, staying with Tony
Yeah.
Ashton.
Yeah, no, great point. The safety position. I mean, as you guys see our roster, you know, we're heavy at a lot of spots. We have a lot of really good defensive ends, a lot of really good wide receivers, a lot of really good corners, and honestly felt like we had 6 53-man worthy safeties. So that was probably one of the more excruciating cut downs to go from the numbers we had to 4. And ultimately, a lot that went into that decision was outside of the 2 starters. Special teams was going to be a large component of that in terms of the 2 backups. But you know, obviously, we wanted to get them all back here in some capacity, whether it was on the 53 or on the practice squad. Really excited to have Will Parks back on the practice squad. Obviously, would have been great to get Jason back here as well on the practice squad, but happy for him that he's going to have a great opportunity across town.
Connor, Al, thank you. When you have the number of players that you guys had claimed by other teams, did you have any discussions about potentially making those guys that you were gonna cut, like trade them? Like, did you make any calls about maybe getting some kind of conditional pick or late round pick just instead of having them walk for, you know, just be claimed off the waiver wire?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussions, and Rex can touch on it too. There's a lot of discussions that happen prior to that cut down, and so there's a lot of ideas and thoughts going around, and you know, there was interest on some of the guys that were ultimately claimed, but ultimately there wasn't any agreement on a trade.
Robert said Vinnie Curry is a candidate for hire. Is there anybody else who would be a candidate at this point?
None other to report this time.
With Mike White, obviously you guys were very high on him last year. I'm just curious, what did you make of his off-season and training camp, and where do you think he kind of fits moving forward?
Yeah, Mike's done a great job, you know, and Mike really, it was great to see his game last week against the Giants, and you know, we saw a lot of positive things, and I know it was important for him to finish the preseason with the type of game that he had, but you know, Mike brings poise. Obviously, one of the most intelligent guys you could ask for at the quarterback position. Poise. He's a smooth operator, rarely rattled. You know, he's a very good decision maker, and he's an accurate passer. You know, we're lucky to have him. We're lucky to have all these guys in the quarterback room. I feel like the last couple of years we've had a really good QB room.
Well, good. Thanks, everybody.
Can I just ask one more?
Maybe.
This is like a serve on the softball here, but just facing Baltimore, Baltimore in the first game. Obviously, a long history with them. What's that going to be like for you?
You know, I think my first year here, we played Baltimore on a Thursday night, and you know, going back there, obviously you spent 15 years in one place. You know, you feel a certain way, and obviously it's an organization that I love, with people that I love that are still there. But at the end of the day, you know, we're competing. You know, we're competing for one trophy.
Do you want to guarantee to win?
No name
Thanks, everyone.
headlines.
You don't.
Thank